In what way social entrepreneurs' value orientation have made emotional impact to the performance of social enterprises, the arbitrating consequence of social entrepreneurship. Abstract exertions have been ended to recover the performance of social enterprises over and done with many studies on social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship. Conversely, previous studies have abstracted social entrepreneurship based on researches on lucrative entrepreneurs. Furthermore, the scale recycled in the examination of social entrepreneurship emphases primarily on interactive aspects. Even though the social and economic morals followed by social enterprises are important qualities for social entrepreneurs, research on the value location of social entrepreneurship is inadequate. The quintessence of a social enterprise is generating social value based on monetary sustainability, so the notion of merged worth has been lately highlighted. This study examined the interactions amongst merged assessment alignment, social entrepreneurship, and the presentation of social enterprises. The consequences designate that the combined assessment alignment of social entrepreneurs prejudiced social entrepreneurship and presentation, social entrepreneurship fully arbitrated mixed value alignment and presentation. These discoveries propose that it is significant to emphasis on the merged value alignment of social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship in the elevation and policies of social enterprises. Keywords: social initiatives, social entrepreneurs, merged value alignment of social entrepreneurs. Introduction. Generally, this study is focused on creation of social value and social roles. Social change has been overlooked in policy design. To create healthy ecosystem. To preserve monetary constancy and perform social assignments in an indeterminate setting, social tycoons should need various characteristics, for example a moral attitude, accountability, decision, a preparedness to donate to civilization, the hunt of economic effectiveness, sturdy principled enthusiasm, and the construction of value beyond properties. In recent times, curiosity in the social economy has augmented such as the development bound of the capitalist economy has been exposed. The essential entertainer of the social economy is the social enterprise, SE, and exploration of the SE, social enterprise, has amplified in contemporary periods. Studies on SES are allocated into three areas: social entrepreneurship, the enactment of SES, SEP, and the connection between these factors. Nonetheless, no agreement has been stretched on the perception of social entrepreneurship or the SEP contingent on how SES and social entrepreneurs are alleged. The definition of it varies. In spite of swerving thoughts and classifications concerning social entrepreneurship, it is a major subject in SE studies. Most scholarships of social entrepreneurship have mostly absorbed on its conceptualization. Consequently, the empirical dimension of social entrepreneurship and its compositional issues has been distributed with by many academics and consultants. The cumulative attention in social entrepreneurship is connected to the leaving of the well-being state in Western frugalities. Social entrepreneurship has been a theme of abundant attention and investigation by way of a novel standard for the last 30 years. It has been stared as an income of bankrolling and upholding pecuniary individuality in addition to lucrative for public organizations. Furthermore, to the conceptualization of social entrepreneurship, there is a study on by what revenues social entrepreneurship distresses the SEP. The research queries of this study are as trails. Does the BVO of social entrepreneurs affect social entrepreneurship? How the BVO of social entrepreneurs touch the SEP? How does social entrepreneurship narrate to BVO and the SEP? To examine these research questions, we cast off structural equation demonstrating, SEM, to resolve social problems climb subsequently social entrepreneurs. The arena of social entrepreneurship has full-fledged exponentially in current years besides has developed a social, economic, and cultural singularity. In light of the present monetary catastrophe, the incapacity of particular administrations to encounter the community desires of their electorates, a flared gap amid rich and poor in numerous industrialized republics, besides multitude attractive, scandal-drift business world, the floors of persons and collections of folks who need to amendment the world, Bornstein 2004. The instances of devoted besides impracticable businesspersons who enterprise explanations aimed at unsatisfied communal requirements, besides whose main designation is to assistance supplementary, are a foundation of confidence and souks wherever old-fashioned methods of entrepreneurship are fraught to restructure their standing and lawfulness. On or after a research viewpoint, Dassen et al., 2011, bargain an additional subdued greeting for communal free enterprise. As cumulative statistics of investigators undertaking addicted to the interesting, interdisciplinary background of social private enterprise, p. 1203. 03, by means of a importance, social entrepreneurship study is immobile in an emergent government besides a combined classification is missing, short et al. 2009, p. 161. Though, the utmost researchers approve that a comprehensive description should be assumed specified the cross-sectorial besides incorporative natural surroundings of the social entrepreneurship meadow. In an primary determination to transport construction in a embryonic pitch, Mayer and Marty, 2006, p. 37, outlined social entrepreneurship as a development concerning the advanced habit and amalgamation of properties to trail occasions to breed social change and/or a social requirements. Their description transfers outside the originally controlling watercourse of investigation on social entrepreneurs and the characters, potentials, standards, and hallucinations of distinct alteration mediators. Bornstein 2004. They determined that to found a supplementary united vocabulary, investigators must hold important melodies in tactical private enterprise, for instance exigency theory, discovery theory, and resource dependency theory. Dassin et al., 2011, recommended 5 streets of knowledge building at fluctuating heights of examination, organizations and communal activities, systems, ethos, uniqueness, and twin and consciousness, p. 1211, besides accentuated the standing of background and consequences. In precise, Dassin et al. Highlighted the significance of communal procedures in the hunt of social private enterprise. They positioned prevailing investigation in 4 key parts: 1. The physiognomies of separate communal tycoons, 2. Their compass of process besides the communal requirements besides electorates beleaguered, 3. The procedures and capitals recycled, 4. The assignment of the social tycoon/initiative. By collecting particular of the important academics in the arena, this present study aims to inspire extra applicable investigation besides improve the empathetic of social entrepreneurship besides the aforementioned decent, communal as well appropriate inferences. Here, I have tried to investigate in what manner assistance and commercial principles outline social entrepreneurship, by what means constructive consequences hinge on even if a worth conception or a price detention method is assumed, in what way dissimilar social entrepreneuring replicas bring about dissimilar consequences besides why investigators need to widen their viewpoint outside the individual level to comprise shared procedures of social entrepreneurship. In addition, here I have used 2 case studies on social entrepreneurs and their enterprises, besides inspects in what way these individual creations converted cooperative pains. Major objectives which through this study I will try to recognize. 1. Blended value orientation. 2. Proactivity and risk training. 3. Neoliberal economy and social performance. 4. Innovativeness and measures of social enterprise. Felipe M. Santos matures a theory that spreads academic exploration in social private enterprise by amplification the aforementioned idiosyncratic part in the monetary system, and cement to the particulars of the social entrepreneurship tactic as different to outmoded arrangements of entrepreneurship. This definition energies elsewhere private enterprise by means of a social mission or a social purpose, as per consumes every so often been the circumstance in normal social free enterprise methods, and yonder judgments of financial as opposed to communal value, besides therefore encouragement the essential to categorize whatever is communal and what is not. As well an expressive view besides pressures the essential to choose uncertainty of business's emphasis. In addition envisioned goalmouth is predominantly worth formation, i.e. producing a robust and significant influence for civilization in overall, or worth imprisonment, i.e. misappropriating a considerable share of the bent with the purpose of manufacture or revenue. These circumstances of concurrent souk and administration disappointment continue the province of social tycoons. Social entrepreneurship as per the chase of supportable explanations tots glitches with optimistic externalities. Literature review. It is tricky to compute the SEP ensuing social purposes compared with a lucrative inventiveness overriding quantifiable and solid procedures of appearance, for example monetary pointers. In accrual, social entrepreneurs has copious economic and non-financial depositors, and there is strain in exhibition measurement thus. Nevertheless there are negotiations approximately the performance batons of SES, highest of them piece the significances of 2 landscapes, social recital, the creation of social value, and economic presentation, financial sustainability. An SE is a combination society that is alike to lucrative governments looking for income growth and non-profit managements determined as social assignment, for instance aid and giving morals. This contrast appears self-contradictory, but the SE inspirations this opposition to trail high social and economic exhibition. The sustainability of an SE is not a culmination in them, nonetheless it is indispensable to perform the social project of the gathering. The spirit of an SE is to make social value based on economic presentation for the existence of the group. Correspondingly, frequent instructions on SEP have vibrant and deliberated by way of social and economic, financial, demonstration and scrutinized the questions believable at The questions distressing SEP existing in the aforementioned educations fluctuate broadly: the administration capabilities of social entrepreneurs, management of social business persons, social free enterprise, chatting with numerous depositors, mechanical construction, supremacy, approach, social support and collaboration, marketplace keenness, stability as a hybrid organization, harmony, standards, and assignments. Although numerous issues are recommended, 4 major influences move SEP: humanoid, recognized, administrative, and conservational aspects. The presentation of social enterprises and the factors upsetting presentation. The leadership and management volume of social entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship, and employee competence are human factors. Institutional Sustainability 2019, 11, 5341. 3 of 13 factors include government financial support and non-financial support. Organizational structure, governance, organizational process, and operational strategy are organizational factors. Lastly, ecological factors comprise interacting with shareholders, social sustenance, collaboration with the situation, and bazaar keenness. It is significant to classify and clarify the issues that touch SEP. If these 4 factors influence SEP, which are the most important? All of them are important, but considering the characteristics of the SE organizations, the human factor is the most important. Amongst human issues, chief administrators' characters and the standards of the SE besides social free enterprise are further most frequently deliberated as manipulating SEP. The consequence of social entrepreneurs as folks in the recital of social enterprises. There are numerous educations donation dissimilar descriptions of social tycoons. Researchers and consultants have scrutinized social entrepreneurs over and done with countless standpoints, for example potentials, conduct, association formation and action, free enterprise, organization, social assignment, inspiration, and longing. Completely these rudiments are potentials that social tycoons need to control an SE intended for communal modernization and alteration. Social magnates are inspired by the occasion to implement an advanced tactic and the artistic habit of possessions and interactions to mollify requests. They attend as managers of shared modification through advanced approaches. They are commercial, imaginative, besides agenda setting, and pursue answers to glitches produced by organizations that cannot be cracked by current organizations. Though, social entrepreneurs are recognized as people who must unique structures of moral determination, rudimentary unpredictable potentials of ease through indecision, in height necessity for independence, and a propensity in the direction of deed. By way of such, social tycoons are labeled as persons with sole interactive projects or distinguished traits and worth locations for the absorbed on social tycoons' behavioral designs as an affecting issue of SEP besides distincted by way of social entrepreneurship. The spirit of an SE generates social price founded on fiscal sustainability. Consequently, the notion of blended value besides BVO could be useful to SES. Brooks expresses the blended value of an SE as per the quantity of the innovativeness charge besides the social resolve cost. His anxieties the quantity of financial in addition communal morals as diverse standards. Miles et al. Propose the notion of social worth alignment, SVO, in SES. SVO is an organizational-wide value-driven attitude of organization that emphasizes on structural purposes that is reached by and commercial besides supportable boldness. Judgment manufacturers who proactively revenue jeopardies to revolutionize their crops, procedures, besides approach. SVO is a fractional thought in that it stresses only unique facet of the morals that SES would chase. By means of mixture administrations, SES follows communal areas consuming a for-profit business perfect. In this intelligence, there is disagreement around the association besides connection amid social besides monetary scruples, which SES ought to chase besides complement. In this deference, SES is mixture administrations that have a BVO that need hunt together mores. 2. Economic enablement business undertaking. Economic enablement occupational undertakings frequently turn on revenue-producing doings, which permit females to obtain their revenue self-sufficiently. Revenue-making doings include an extensive variety of parts, such as unimportant commercial preferment, collectives, job formation arrangements, stitching rings and recognition and redeemable collections, all B. 1994. Female's business person is an separate who takes up a stimulating character in which she continually interrelates in calculation fine-tunes that woman with community, supply, and provision compasses in a civilization. Parikh 1992. Women free enterprise is increasing around the biosphere. Cultures have revealed that females possessed commercial include among 1 sector and 1/3 of industries in the official economy and are possible top reduction and smooth superior in rage in relaxed subdivisions. Peacock 2003. Since the 1990s, through augmented stages of education, new women have chosen for entrepreneurial vocations in plastic, microchip technology and fleece-connected industries. Nevertheless, complete women tycoons descend in the direction of schemes through low asset and smaller technical fences. Lakshmi 1998, Lalith Sarani 1996, Sharma and Amicha, 2002. According to Economist, entrepreneurship and the aforementioned structure, organization, are a consequence of unsuitable value-price configuration in the bazaar place. This understanding, unquestionably, undertakes judicious productivity in the pecuniary atmosphere. As of the scientific perception, free enterprise is knowledge-obsessed and invention-empowered. It is air source by which bigger harvests besides amenities can be recognized and carried in an inexpensive or shopper-delicate bazaar. The free enterprise is a commercial development by which imaginative folks pursue and classify soup chances besides establish a set of actions to answer absolutely to such openings. Repeatedly free enterprise is seen as an protracted variety of an entity's guidance, thirst, disposition, faith. In the unindustrialized kingdoms, this is a constructive answer to inept association of goods and service station. A truly track contravention influence to the examination of free enterprise since a comprehensive antique viewpoint was presented by Schumpeter in his book The Theory of Economic Development, 1934. Opening since a spherical current of belongings and currency of specified extent in a stationary background, he claims that lacking development or monetary development in attendance is no choice for free enterprise. At greatest, it produces extra occupations and proceeds for extra persons. Schumpeter, 1961. Describes tycoon by means of a director for alteration modernizer. 3. Promoting gender equality and empowerment of women. Gendered poverty is the credit that women and men expression deficiency for diverse motives and together knowledge and answer to it inversely. Study on gendered poverty has invented that penurious rural and urban females look numerous of the same restrictions. They together hurt since low socio-economic status, absence possessions privileges, ecological poverty and imperfect health and educational capitals. The Third Millennium Development Goal. According to Reddy, 1991, in the procedure of entrepreneurship women have to expression numerous glitches related with entrepreneurship and these difficulties get doubled since of her dual role as a remuneration stipendiary and a homemaker. Entrepreneurship proposals marvelous openings for women crosswise the world by inaugural entrances to better self-adequacy, self-reverence and development not only for the females themselves, but likewise for their relations and their staffs. And females are varying the face of commercial possession globally, between 1 sector and 1/3 of the world's industries are owned by women. As their records raise and their productions grow, they will transformation the way the ecosphere does commercial, Ammon and SHAH 2014. About 13% of the women enterprises were in the registered SMEs sector and the remaining 87% were Indiana the unregistered SMEs sector. With regard to enterprise managed by women, 11.5% were in the registered SMEs sector. The commodification of women determines themselves further most noticeably in metropolises, wherever publicizing approach is practice/misuse to the comprehensive. Consuming their body in infomercials, for advertising the products and transferring has been established in the urban economies. Whereas the public spaces inside the cities, awfully insecure for women and young girls have increased, women bargain themselves obliged to tolerate waiting these chairs, out of economic, communal, or domestic pressure. There have been unconditionally no strategy enterprises to build safe cities, Gill 2009. Globalization includes incorporation of domain arcades besides suggestions abundant chances for individuals intricate in business. Furthermore, globalization comprises generating original chances intended for entirely businesses through the evaporation of employment barricades. By means of a consequence, swelling struggle in intercontinental souks could require a adverse bearing on the endurance rates of females magnates in SMEs. In the 21st century, women are enchanting fragment in each piece and segment of the reduced. Therefore, they are challenging neck to neck through the men in specialized besides non-professional events, appreciating supplementary self-determination besides influence than forever previously. Though, they are tranquil underprivileged as soon as associate to mankind in virtually all aspects of life in terms of corresponding admittance to tutoring, healthcare, capitals, and decision-making authorities in political, social business sectors. Amin Ajaz Shah 2014. I blended value orientation. Most untried lessons on social entrepreneurship are grounded on the 3 features of Coven and Slevin's classical and unheard with their 3-factor archetypal. Though, this model is incomplete to the extent of the moderately profitable performance of social tycoons while supervising their private appearances. To uphold financial steadiness and comprehensive social assignments in an indeterminate atmosphere, social entrepreneurs should have countless characteristics. for example a decent brashness, charge, decision, a preparedness to subsidize to civilization, the hunt of economic effectiveness, robust ethical drive, and the conception of cost. Yonder possessions. Ethics are undeveloped theories that a certain conduct or persistence of animation is more necessary in my opinion or on a social basis than other manners or resolves of survival. Morals contain private hypercritical influences around what is right, erroneous, and needed. Ethics are the root for considerate a creature's boldness and interactive inspirations in that they affect discernment. Thus, specific value is imperative in the study of executive actions. In certain, the principles of social impresarios with final obligation and managerial consultant completed the maneuver of SES our chief. Long ago, it was advised that the physical appearance of the different in an association artificial the association the aforementioned. Freshly, grades have been vacant display that the charge positioning of the specific in an body also disturbs the association the aforementioned. Assessment positioning and free enterprise are decisive features for illumination SEP. As cited previous, observed trainings studying some social entrepreneurship have unheard them as interactive physiognomies, innovativeness, and risk-taking. What worth should social entrepreneurs hunt as chief directors? Social and economic values are no smaller amount vital than any others for social business persons to pursue. The value sustainability alignment that social executives should follow is, consequently, the agreement and poise of social and economic standards. Lately, the notion of blended value was worried in countless lessons. Emerson advocates the thought of blended value, which resources an administration's commercial value is not dispersed as of its social value and each value is associated energetically. Economic sustainability is connected to the conception of social value. Therefore the thought of blended value was newly accentuated in general marketable creativities. Furthermore, Emerson advises the thought of BVO that is focused on in the direction of the making of relationship among its social and economic machineries for social and fiscal morals. BVO is a nice of go-ahead alignment for generating common and economic value in a body. According to Reddy, 1991, women entrepreneurship in go-ahead frustrated at eras as per they indispensable to further their while and liveliness, collected in the course of their saleable in addition to domestic industries. Women in India found a larger quantity of total unemployed population and henceforth it is domineering to realize the commercial restraints tackled by them. A strong small business sector entrepreneurship are generally linked to strong economy, Bekdemir Gutkunt and Levine 2005. Across industrialized and emergent nations, entrepreneurship has converted a grave part of economic development approaches. Entrepreneurship realizes imperative meanings connected to competence, rivalry, creation novelty, valuing, manufacturing existence by acting to disequilibrate, Schumpeter 1934, to equilibrate, Gertner 1997, otherwise toward ensure together, Hall 2007, in the marketplace. Subsequently the meeting work by Hisrich and Brush, 1984, in which they summarized distinctive appearances of female tycoons, the previous 25 years need understood a fixed intensification in the quantity of trainings on women impresarios. Key questions lectured have encompassed instructive besides exertion circumstantial, emotional appearances, enthusiasm, awareness of career efficiency, drill, skill progress, proportional incomes planes, supervision performs, exterior schmoosing, longing to thrive and difficulties come across, Burley, 1989, Brush 1992, Dumitz 2001, Green ETAL 1996, Robinson 2001, Stevenson 1986. It has also been experimental that women jump schemes which produce at a subordinate amount than persons possessed by men, Cliff 1998, Hisrich and Brush 1984, minutes that, likened to males, female businesspersons inclined to set inferior commercial size verges yonder which they favor not to enlarge and to be extra worried through risks devoted to fast growing. These extrapolations are maintained by accompanying contemporary arithmetical indication. Female tycoons inclined to be grown up and have offspring in additional examples than their male complements when preliminary a commercial, Sari 2005. Women-possessed industries tend to be slighter with less wealth, have lower incomes and less staffs and reside in lower income businesses. Women inclined to be solitary proprietors have less decision-making involvement, Hisrich and Brush 1984. In reports of individual features, women validate lower levels of self-assurance, Brush 2004, Chaganty 1986, recommend that the comprehensive detailed aims of women occupational proprietors truly create a damaging discernment that women are less engrossed and driven to get ahead in their industries than men, resulting in problems obtaining recognized or undertaking capital bankrolling. 2. Proactivity and risk training. Bateman and Krant, 1993, industrialized the positive temperament impression, essential it is a relatively constant inclination to conclusion conservational modification that discriminates folks built on the level to which they take deed to affect their surroundings. Folks with a classical practical behavior recognize occasions and entertainment on them, display inventiveness, revenue action, and persist until telling modification befalls. Krant, 2000. In dissimilarity, folks who are not practical display the conflicting decorations, they nosedive to recognize, tendency unaided snatch, occasions to variation clothes. Smaller amount practical folks are inactive and responsive, wishing to familiarize to situations slightly than modification them. Krant, 2000. As exertion converts more self-motivated and evolved, upbeat conduct and creativity converted uniform more grave factors of organizational victory. As new methods of organization are familiarized that curtail the scrutiny meaning, corporations will more and more bank on operatives' private creativity to recognize besides crack complications. Fress, Fay, Hilberger, Ling, and Tag, 1997. Krant, 2000, distinct positive actions as taking ingenuity in civilizing recent situations or producing new ones. It includes inspiring the status quo relatively than unreceptively familiarizing to existing environments. Personnel can occupy in practical actions as portion of their in-role behavior wherein they satisfy undeveloped job chucks. Krant, 2000. For example, auctions mediators force proactively hunts for criticism on their systems for finishing a transaction within definitive area of civilizing job recital. Extra role deeds can also be practical, for example pains to redefine one's character in the society. For instance, workers force occupy in occupation organization actions by recognizing and substitute on occasions to modification the possibility of their works or transfer to supplementary necessary separations of the occupational. Krant, 2000. Krant, 1995, confirmed that positive behavior accounted for incremental alteration in the work concert of real parkland representatives after supervisory for both extroversions besides thoroughness. Practical nature denotes to entities character near charming and vigorous role alignments, such as introducing modification and manipulating their atmosphere. Bateman and CRANT 1993. Practical folks are comparatively unimpeded by situational services, and they recognize chances, start in on them, show enterprise, and stick until evocative change arises. Krant, 2000. The crucial discerning mouth of practical disposition and manners is a full of life relatively than unreceptive slant in the direction of toil. Bateman and Krant, 1993. More than a few scholars have observed a range of probable products of upbeat disposition at toil. For instance, Krant, 1995, observed the norm strength of the upbeat disposition measure settled by Bateman and Krant, 1993. Via a sample of 131 real domain negotiators, grades signposted that the upbeat disposition scale elucidated and supplementary 8% of the modification in an unprejudiced quantity of mediators' job routine elsewhere practice, social attractiveness, universal psychological capability, besides 2 of the immense 5 biota features assiduousness and extroversion. Parker, 1998, start that, by means of as ample since a crystal engineering stable, practical character was completely besides meaningfully allied with input in legislative enhancement enterprises. Beckerer and Moorer, 1999, inspected the properties of a practical character on commercial performances. Consequences. Since a model of 215 small corporation leaders recommended that the chair's level of proactivity was suggestively connected with 3 types of risk-taking actions, preliminary as opposed to not starting corporate, the numeral of start UPS, and the types of possession. Kim, Hahn, and Krant, 2009, studied the secondary possessions of a positive disposition on profession approval and professed insider standing, single-minded the progression by which newcomers/outsiders come lately inspiration intermediates these associations. Their conclusions on condition that more than a few important academic suggestions. They start that the scope to which innovative staffs enjoy a positive temperament was linked with their inspiration. Kim, Hahn and Krant, 2009. Upbeat behavior has been associated to a numeral of necessary particular and logistic conclusions, and their conclusions providing evidence that employee creativity should be added to the positive correlates of a practical character. Kim, Hahn and Krant, 2009. Greatest essentially, their studies fallout spread present practical character prose by speaking the original course by which practical nature finally demonstrates themselves in separate consequences. Kim, Hahn and Krant 2009. The positive nature scale looks to have the latent for if further awareness into the behavior mannerism free enterprise relationship. Krant, 1996. The hands-on disposition measure procedures a peculiar temperament in the direction of proactive actions, an awareness that spontaneously look as if to be correlated in the bearing of private enterprise. Krant, 1996. In a homework showed by Krant, 1996, that observed the association among the practical character scale and commercial intentions, practical personality was absolutely allied with commercial purposes. This may likewise be the case for community commercial purposes. People with a practical character may be more persuaded to have social risk-taking purposes and may want to inspiration their environment. More practical people may have a superior longing to convert social tycoons in order to benefit transmute civilization for the healthier character effects outcomes done facilitating and controlling progressions and apparatuses, as well distinguishing these underlying buildings has been theorized as a required next step for hard-trending the positive behavior poetry forward. Siebert, Krant, and Craner, 1999. For this goal the dramatist also unquestionable to observe hope as a likely arbitrator that may well factor in the bond amongst upbeat temperament and social empire-building purposes. Hope as a potential moderator in the relationship between proactive personality and social entrepreneurial intentions. 3. Neoliberal economy and social entrepreneurship. The gauge, model, and money of organizations like these are quicker to venture capital-supported productions than to charity-based administrations that serve the marginalist with no deliberation of economic proceeds. This sort of social entrepreneurship situations herself as the antithesis of the outmoded non-profit, attractive smugness in its prototypical of self-financing, inexpensive publicizing, and return. In fact, administrations like these place their aptitude to engender return as their biggest asset as a resilient of their capability to endure their events and scale impression on their private lacking any exterior funding. A saleable innovativeness at gauge requirements codings for well-organized running, wheels, calibration, and endless growing influences that may not permit for the greatest caring, receptive, and well-organized answers for those in necessity. By discrepancy, a social impresario irritating to explain a problem for a community with which he identifies will more likely create a solution that is genetically autonomous, rather than profit-oriented. In a favela communal that has dismayed plumbing and debris all over the place, a social entrepreneur could be a communal affiliate who jumps a house-to-house compost gathering system. The communal might adopt to enforce a scheduled charge built on fellows' capability to recompense in the lowest sum essential to consent the public industrialist to toil. Uniform so, the determination habitually would have to follow a hybrid model that used contributions to complement its proceeds in addition to kind fixed that the charge the municipal had to pay was nominal. Non-profits occupied in the area might lend sustenance by contributing organization, casing capital budgets, edifice dimensions for resourceful work, and manufacture the civic aware of the key existence accessible. Social entrepreneurship does appear to effort, though, in an subcontracting size, somewhere it associates with a management or contributor to gadget packages and achieve outreach. 4. Innovativeness and measures of social enterprise. Government needs a framework for social novelty wherein social inventiveness is possible to play a grave person. Social innovativeness procedure desires to be mounted indoors a supplementary inclusive approach for public novelty that is calculated to distribute social bearing by verdict new ways to homily unmet social essentials. All revolution comprises the submission of new concepts or their submission of old notions and new traditions to develop better explanations to our requirements. Invention is habitually a increasing, cooperative movement in which thoughts are communal, confirmed, advanced, industrialist and everyday. Social invention put on this discerning to social subjects, teaching and shape, inquiries of difference and enclosure. Social inventiveness propositions a new technique to do professional that is active by a social resolve. Even though furthermost social inventiveness are insignificant, and many are brittle, the sector has fascinated growing curiosity from politicians, young people, impresarios, funders, and recognized productions. That attention is demonstration to the way that social innovativeness discourses softness in the procedure of both marketplaces and management. We can variety market marines work recovering for the poor if we progress a more inspired entrepreneurship if we can elasticity the scope of arcade navies so that extra individuals can sort a turnover, or at smallest a active, quota general public who are woe from the poorest inequalities. We can also print media directions everywhere the ecosphere to fill taxpayers' money in ways that recovering echo the ethics of individuals who pay levies. If we treasure slants that encounter the requests of the poor that create turnover for commercial and divisions for legislators, we will have start a workable way to diminish discrimination in the ecosphere. Social innovativeness trade harvests and service area to added social and ecological boxes. They are controlled by a sagacity of societal resolution and object to illustration that productions and bazaars can send social assistances besides confrontation obdurate social hitches. A upward quantity of productions, shaped in fresh eons, entitlement to espouse business with a greater sense of social responsibility and determination. The way social creativities work is often, as a minimum indirectly, a assessment of the confines of public provision delivery. Social enterprise has developed more noteworthy to the national as souks have lengthy into the administration and facility of public services in the previous two eras, through toning out, therefore social enterprises have booked on an progressively vital role. In more areas management now reserves prices amenities nevertheless do not essentially deliver them, trusting on for-profit and public breadwinners in its place. Conclusion. Government can aid to bright the growing tide of voluntarism and charitable that entries change social enterprise by directing on four main extents of bustle. Sustenance social tycoons to work at superior scale, through structural growing where fitting, bunching, grids and permitting. Inspire a extensive generous philosophy and wisdom of social charge that will forage into customer conduct in ethical souks, benevolent generous to funding social originalities and volunteer charities to sustenance municipal amenities, for instance in the overhaul economy. Command public amenities to encourage social invention and added current social products, plus hardening user-led advanced public amenities. Reassure and anywhere required require a supplementary burning sense of social charge from occupational. Altogether of this will be reinforced by a mounting body of systems and apparatuses for evaluating and reportage on social value, together with more outdated actions of economic recital. Request for social initiative explanations will not reduce. The last 10 centuries have seen particular significant stages forward, more undertaking and generosity and speculation, a vigorous and inclusive policy podium for social enterprise expansion, a swelling character for social originalities in public service delivery. Officials, policymakers and civic influential can make a exclusive influence by altering the way society borders its tasks besides assembles public, private, and charitable possessions to meet them. That job mounting the development of collective social revolution encompasses three constituents. Analyzing the contests and occasions a city advents. Proposing travels and concern for UNA-like troops. Rousing and occasionally rearmament individuals to take action, Government desires a context for social invention wherein social creativity is expected to show a critical character.